9 News at 9 starts right now.
Winds have calmed in the Denver metro area, though the impacts of today's 100-mile-per-hour gusty windstorm remain. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Kyle Clark.
I'm Alexandra Lewis. Let's get you a live look here at Loveland Pass. The area was recording wind gusts of 86 miles per hour as of about 8:20 tonight. Those conditions are making mountain travel a little tricky.
Not a fun day to drive any vehicle higher profile than the Batmobile. This is what southbound I-25 looked like near Berthoud around 3 o'clock this afternoon.
All that wind down plenty of trees. This one dropped onto a car near Boulder High School. The Boulder Valley School District says power was knocked out to about half of their schools, and some of their buildings were damaged. They say it's possible power may not be restored to all of their campuses in time for class tomorrow. 9 News Chief Meteorologist Kathy Sabin here with the latest on the forecast. Have these winds died down for most of us?
In some areas they have, like in downtown Denver, but in other areas they're still going strong. Although the front has just come through, and you guys, it's raining in Denver. It's light, but we have wet streets, wet pavement, and rain in downtown Denver, which, considering the critical fire weather and the wind we've been talking about, is really wonderful news. We're seeing wind and blowing snow create really kind of snow squall areas on I-70 up in the mountains. We've had peak gusts as high as 109 miles per hour. Berthoud Pass 102, 91 in Boulder. No wonder power poles were snapped and trees were down. Still very gusty in Greeley and Fort Morgan. We have a 90-mile-per-hour gust over Loveland Pass right now. And we do have all of the advisories for wind canceling out for Denver. This is a brand new fire weather watch that will go out on Friday because of another system coming our way and the chance for more wind, not to the extent that we're seeing today. Still looking at warnings for wind in the mountains and out across the northeastern plains, where temperatures are starting to come down as that front moves from north to south. We have rain in downtown Denver, snow in the foothills and mountains. How long will this last? We'll talk about it coming up in just a bit.
The worst of the wind may be over, but more than 100,000 XL customers remain without power tonight. Some of those outages were planned, but others were caused by the weather.
9 News reporter Shalima Maharaj is in Boulder for us tonight. Shalima, plenty of lights out there and messes here and there around the city.
Yeah, definitely. We saw some down trees on the CU Boulder campus. We also ended up seeing some traffic lights that were out. And on the way here, we were driving towards this dark, ominous sort of, shelf of clouds. And just to give you some additional perspective, we're driving here in an SUV and we could sort of feel that wind swaying us along the road. And it is a lot calmer here than it was earlier on. But some people are still without power, and that includes the residents of Fraser, which is an independent living facility for seniors. High winds actually managed to knock out power there, and they don't know yet when it will be restored. And it comes on what was supposed to be a very special night for residents. Their merry and bright holiday dinner was supposed to happen tonight, and when officials found out about this turbulent weather, they shifted their plans. They decided to move ahead with the festive dinner, but they also had some emergency planning in place. Around 4 o'clock this afternoon, the power went out. They were still able to serve dinner. We spoke to some of the residents who were very appreciative. Thankfully, they do have 5 generators, and they play a critical role, especially on a day like today.
And when we knew that this week, we had this threat and a possibility of a power outage, we started the education again. We started the preparation, ensuring people had flashlights and, backup plans and know, where to plug in oxygen if that is needed. We absolutely have everything that is medically necessary supported on those generators.
Now, we have been speaking to XL throughout the entire afternoon into the evening. They tell us that right now they are working on an update, so we are waiting to get that. But we asked them about prioritizing the return to power for a number of different households and businesses, and they didn't have any sort of clarity or answer on that. But on their website, it does say that restoration will begin only after high winds and elevated fire risks have ended. They have previously said that for some people, it could take hours. For others, it may be a matter of days. Reporting live in Boulder, Shalima Maharaj, 9 News.
The warm, dry day with extreme winds in December brings back memories of the Marshall Fire, especially in the Superior area, even with changes to make the XL power lines there more safe. Most of the power lines in Superior are now buried underground. Town leaders say undergrounding the utilities was a priority after the fire, which investigators said was caused in part by damage to an XL power line during extreme winds. Even with the change, some people living in Superior question whether more work needs to be done west of town, where overhead lines remain exposed in the windiest spots.
Yeah, it's nice that you can look out and not see the power lines, but it's not here that caused the fire. It was back on 93. So that's the place they should be concentrating on putting those wires underground, you know.
Most of Superior was not included in today's preemptive power shutoff. Xcel has not answered our questions about whether the buried power lines there were the reason that Superior was spared.
First responders are busy responding to calls about today's big wind event. Windsor Severance Fire Rescue increased their staffing in anticipation of the fire danger. They have 3 extra firefighters and an additional truck in rotation. By mid-morning, they were running on backup generators. They say the way they've prepared for this wind event is based on lessons they've learned from 2021.
The Marshall Fire was a learning experience for all of us in the fire service, especially in Colorado, to take some lessons learned and to try to be better prepared.
First responders have been asking you not to call 911 about power outages or minor wind damage. Alert them if debris is blocking a road or impacting safety.
Travel's been pretty dicey along the Front Range today. Arvada police posted this video from an officer's dash cam showing a trough blowing across the road this afternoon. They cited that as the kind of windy conditions that led to the closure of part of Highway 93. Wind gusts were strong enough to tip trucks today.
9 News reporter Ria Jaw is at a truck stop in Wheat Ridge after talking with people who experienced those winds firsthand.
Yeah, we're at a truck stop that's closest to the road closure on 93, and right now the wind is going a little bit. Compared to earlier, though, my hair was going everywhere. It was a sandstorm. I could barely open my eyes, and CDOT says gusts that strong, the only option for them was to close the roads.
You've always got things you're fighting, things you're dealing with.
Truck drivers like James Dean are used to dealing with whatever the road throws at them.
When you got gusts of this level, it can be extra tedious.
Victor Stevanov said he was getting more thrown at him than he'd like.
There are many baskets on the road, many trash on the road.
The gusts that just took Victor's hat were the same ones he was worried about taking his whole truck.
700 miles today. It was very slowly, very, because wind was like crazy.
We're seeing gusts up to 60 miles per hour or more.
Because of conditions like these, Stacia Sellers with CDOT said they shut down 4 Front Range roadways.
As things can sway into another lane, there's a higher chance of rollover crashes as well. So really these closures are in place for the safety of the public.
You have to pay attention on the road every second because every push of the wind can do something wrong with you.
You just kind of do this the whole time. That's about what it's like in a truck, except sometimes when a real hard gust, you'll be like, okay, thanks, I didn't need that.
He's one of many at the Wheat Ridge truck stop delayed because of the wind.
So I have to wait to do my delivery until in the morning.
If there's a road closed due to high winds, there's not going to be a viable detour. It's usually just parking, waiting it out, or turning around.
And with another round of high winds expected Friday, these drivers will be watching the wind as closely as the road ahead.
It's fun. I don't really mean that.
All of CDOT's road closures are still in effect, and for drivers wanting the latest and updated information, they can go to cotrip.org. Reporting live in Wheat Ridge, Ria Jaw, 9 News.
Getting in and out of Denver took a lot of people a little longer today. Earlier this evening, the airport was on a ground delay because of strong wind. That delay ended about 15 minutes ago. Today, over 300 flights have been delayed, 10 have been canceled. Stick with 9 News and 9 News Plus for the latest on the lingering impacts of all this wind. You can also download the 9 News app for free in the Apple and Google Play stores.
President Trump addressed the nation tonight, telling Americans that the economy is strong, but that the ways in which it is weak are all the fault of former President Biden, who left office 11 months ago. It was the kind of purely political speech that previous presidents have struggled to convince the TV networks to air in primetime. Tonight, President Trump repeated a series of previously debunked false claims. He said that inflation has stopped. It has not. The basic year-over-year measure of inflation is up since he took office. Trump made false claims about falling prices And he claimed that prescription drug costs have been cut by 500%, which is mathematically impossible. That would mean that like your pharmacy pays you when you pick up a prescription.
After 11 months, our border is secure, inflation is stopped, wages are up, prices are down, our nation is strong, America is respected, and our country is back stronger than ever before. We're poised for an economic boom, the likes of which the world has never seen.
President Trump also announced a commemorative 1776 bonus for American service members, a one-time payment of $1,776 funded by tariff revenues, which are paid by American consumers through higher prices. Trump said tonight that tariffs is his favorite word.
Hopefully, we'll be in a position tomorrow where we've made it through the wind event and we're okay.
This wind feels eerily familiar for the sheriff in Boulder County nearly 4 years after the Marshall Fire took his home.
It seems the worst of the winds have moved through the metro area, but another round is on the way.
The windy, warm weather has many in Boulder County worried. They have been through a December day like this before with disastrous results.
This storm is stirring up tough memories of what happened the last time they saw this kind of weather during the Marshall Fire 4 years ago. 9 News reporter Rachel Krause has more.
High winds are blowing in through Boulder County.
You know, we have been on edge all week, knowing that we will be having high winds.
This week's weather feels eerily familiar for Sheriff Curtis Johnson. So similar to the day the Marshall Fire started on December 30th, 2021.
Once the second fire, the Marshall Fire, started, I remember vividly driving down 75th Street, which is kind of central Boulder County, and my car just moving in the wind, trying to get to the office to figure out what we've got going on.
Down 36 in Louisville, Chris Schreck was working at Advent Health of Vista.
I remember the smell more than anything.
When the fire sparked.
At one point, our nurses were hosing down the grass right outside the oxygen tanks that butt up against the building, outside near the ICU. And they were just wetting the grass so that even if the fire did get that close, the tanks would not go up.
They evacuated patients. The fire came close, but the hospital survived. Chris's home did not.
We lost everything.
She and Sheriff Johnson and more than 1,000 lost their homes in the Marshall Fire. A December return of warm, windy weather brings with it a gust of unease.
There is no fear, there's a sadness. There's a real sadness that this is happening with such frequency.
This time around, Johnson feels better prepared.
Should we get a smoke report or any report of fire, we will have a massive response to that, because we know the faster we get firefighters and all the right resources there, the better chance we have of stopping fire.
Hopeful this weather blows away as fast as it came in.
And hopefully we'll be in a position tomorrow where we've made it through the wind event and we're okay.
That was Rachel Krause reporting. The sheriff told us Marshall Fire survivors are now a tight-knit group, regularly in contact through texts and Slack chats. He says he'll feel better when they get a foot of snow on the ground and temperatures to help keep it around.